I'm back. It has just been really busy. I've started a master's, so that's kind of taken up a lot of my time. I do have a bit of free time to kind of do another video, so let's get straight into it. Today I'm going to be talking about friendships and autism. This is kind of a big topic when it comes to girls with autism. I can only relate to girls because I am a girl, but yeah, considering that women especially mask a lot more because they want to fit in more, they care about what people think more, this friendships situation can be a real problem. Some people seem to think that when you have autism you don't have friends or you don't want friends, which can be true. Just like neurotypical people, you can have many friends and you can have no friends. You can like having friends and you can hate having friends. It's the same with autism. But for girls especially, I think they're more likely to have friends because of the whole fitting in thing. So the first point with friendships is we don't really understand the different levels when it comes to having a friend. What I mean by this is you have like different stages of knowing someone. You have stranger, acquaintance, close friend, best friend, soulmate, vibe, friendship, I don't know. Of course I understand the stages, but I don't know what stage I'm in when I have a friend or I meet somebody. If you just met somebody, you wouldn't tell them all your darkest secrets and true confessions and expect to be having sleepovers with them straight away. You do that with a best friend. But for me and people with autism, we don't really understand what stage we're in, and you kind of jump into best friend zone immediately. Another reason why some people think I'm really honest, but that's just because I think that if someone's talking to me and someone's hanging out with me, that we're best friends now. I don't get why we need to go through all these stages. Why can't we just skip straight to the bit that will eventually happen? This can be really hard because you want to be someone's friend but you don't know where you stand with them. It can end up breaking potential friendships very quickly. When they could have been really good friendships, and I've done that many times. You just start overthinking why they don't like you, even though it's nothing personal and they're just being acquaintancey, friend type behaviour towards you because they've only just met you. You just kind of sometimes as well, because you think they're like your best friends, you will tell them everything and also expect more of them, and that can scare people off. So yeah, I have some experiences of this. I had a job and I met these girls who were working there and they were really nice and they were all really close friends, like they were pretty much best friends, I think. And they'd include me in the conversations, we were chatting, they would be gossiping about stuff, and I was in with that. But obviously I'd only known them like a few weeks, and they all arranged to have this sleepover together and they didn't invite me. I mean, I wasn't part of that conversation at the time, I was near them, but I overheard them saying that. I remember feeling so upset, and I went home and I was like, they hate me. And my sister was like, you don't know these people, why are you expecting them to invite you to a sleepover? You've only known them like a week, you've literally just started working there. And I was like, yeah, but I thought we were all good friends now, I thought I was part of the group. My sister said, yeah, in the future they might start inviting you, but they're just being nice, like they're chatting to you and they like you, but that doesn't mean that you're best friends. But in my head, they hated me. If they don't want to be my friend, like my best friend there and then, and invite me to all the things that they were doing, then I didn't want to be their friend anymore. It's very black and white, which is the next point. People with autism are very black and white thinkers. There's no in between. It's either this or it's that. When you have something in your head, that's it. So like the point I made before, I thought they hated me, and so that was it. I didn't want to hang around with them, I didn't want to talk to them. I just kind of kept myself to myself, and I was kind of being quite distant about it. And I guess this is an issue with every part of life, to be honest, because it's not just friendships. Black and white thinking is quite restricting, I don't know. You have very specific ways of thinking, and I guess if someone was to cross you or someone was to say something that you didn't believe in, that immediately can end your friendship. You can just shut that off. That's it, don't want to be friends with you anymore. I'm not too bad with this. I can forgive people quite easily, but it's still something that I struggle with. But yeah. The next point I wanted to talk about was friendship groups. Me personally, I mean, other people might love friendship groups if they have autism, but I know a lot of people that don't like friendship groups. I mean, first of all, it's hard enough having one friend. It's draining enough to have one friend, let alone a whole group of people. That's the first issue with friendship groups. And the second is, because we get so obsessive with things and fixated on things, it kind of relates to people in a way. You make this friend, you become really good friends with them, you kind of fixate on this one person, and no one else exists. It's just you and them. And when you find out that they've got other friends, it's a no-go. I have had this so many times. I've made a friend and they have gone and made other friends, and sometimes they've added them to a friendship group, or sometimes I found out that they have friends already. This just causes a whole situation, and again, I've ended friendships over it. I remember I moved to a school and I made this friend because we were both new. We were both we bonded over being new. We were hanging out all the time. We got on really well, like very quickly. And she wanted to make lots of friends naturally, and she started hanging out with people, and I found out that she was hanging out with other people. I would see her sitting with other people, and at first I was like, hi, and join in, and she was like fine with it. And then she was making this like group of friends, and she just kept on, every time I was with her she was like, let's go and sit with these people, let's go and hang out with these people. And I was so offended by it, like, why am I not good enough? Why can't you just be happy being with me? Why do you need to go and make other friends? Kind of like we were in a relationship almost. And I kind of pulled myself away from her. I drifted away. I just thought that, again, the black and white thinking, she hates me and she's trying to make other friends because she's not happy with me, she's not satisfied. That could have been true, to be honest, but most likely she just wanted to have a big group of friends, and I couldn't handle that. The next one is making friends, like actually making friends. This has always been a real problem with me, like a real issue. Ever since I was old enough to communicate with other people, I have always used my sister as the friendship maker. My sister is luckily a similar age to me, and so growing up we always had each other, and whenever I wanted to be friends with somebody I would voice this and say I want her to be my friend. My sister would go and actively seek this person, make friends with her in the way that you make friends, and when she finally like created this quick friendship with this person, she would introduce me, bring me over, and I would then take them away and be best friends with them and push my sister out. And I thought she was happy with this arrangement until a few years ago me and her talked about it, and she hated this because she thought that she was making a friend for me to join in and we all hang out together. But in my head I saw it as she's bringing her in and easing everything, and then I'm just gonna swoop in and take her. Like how I jumped straight to best friends. The first meeting of anyone, I would act as if I was the person that made friends, like I was my sister, and we'd just be best friends straight away, even though I know nothing about them. So that's what I've been doing for as long as I can remember. In primary school, I luckily had a best friend at the time who we'd known each other since we were babies, and we went to the same primary school. Then I went to high school, and I also knew somebody in that high school who introduced me to their friends, and it made things easier to like make friends with other people. Sixth form, that's where I realised I can't make friends because like I said, I was the only, well, one of the only new people, because everyone had gone from their high school to that sixth form. It was the same school, so they all knew each other, they were all friends. I was one of few people that had just joined, and the girl that I was friends with went off and made other friends, and I kind of just distanced myself, and that was that. I was completely alone for the whole of sixth form. Don't get me wrong, they were all really nice, but I never had any actual friends, and I would try and approach a friendship group, or I would try and approach people and make a friend with them, but I didn't know where I stood ever, and if they ever did something without me and didn't invite me to every single thing they were doing, I took it as they don't really want me in their group. I just never knew like whether they wanted to be my friend or not, and I wasn't going to try and force myself into a friendship. It's not something that I find easy at all, and because I don't know where I stand and what stage we're in, it makes it very hard to know whether I should keep pursuing it or whether I should just leave because they don't want me to be their friend and I'm pushing something that is not wanted. Which, now that I'm saying, sounds so sad, because when you think about it, you just can't. It's like everyone's wearing helmets, basically, which is what leads me to my next point: body language. Imagine like you're walking around and everybody is wearing helmets. You don't know what they're thinking, you don't know what their body language is telling you, and you have to kind of jump to conclusions and scenarios that may not be true, and that can potentially ruin friendships and relationships and whatnot. Basically, not knowing the body language of someone is just really, really difficult. And as I've got older, it's just one of these things that just is like, it's just not worth it. So I kind of just keep myself to myself, and I keep my closest friends close to me, sort of. But I just don't try and figure out what people are thinking and saying and whatever anymore. And now I have friends that understand this and they reach out to me, and that's when I know that they want to keep a friendship going, because they're the ones that are trying to actively see me. Neurotypical people can tell from body language and the way that someone's like acting and speaking that they're not wanted or that they're annoyed, and we just can't see that. Emotions, facial emotions, are not well recognized in the autistic community, and so if someone's trying to make it known that they don't like me, I probably won't see it. However, one little superpower that I think is a superpower is that once you know somebody really well, I mean, especially for me, I can't speak for everybody, but one thing is when I know someone really well, I can read them like a book. When you have autism and you can't understand body language and stuff like that, you're analysing people's body language and people's behaviour and people speaking way more than the average person. You have to analyse every detail, which is also something you have to do because when you mask, you're copying other people's behaviour so you can fit in. So you're looking at what they say and how they speak and their mannerisms and their body language so that you can copy that and look normal. And so you really get to understand people's body language, but not, I don't know how to explain this in an easy way. You can't like, just because I'm analysing everyone's body language, that I'm like an expert on body language, because it's so vast and it's so like there's so much to analyze. You can't understand individual people's body language because theirs might be different to somebody else's. You know, someone's way of saying I don't like you can be very different to someone else's way of saying I don't like you. So you become an expert at body language on people that you know really well because you've analysed for a very long time their specific body language. So when my dad is lying, I can tell straight away because I remember every time that he's lied and the facial expressions he makes when he's lied. But to a random person in the street or someone I've only known for like a few weeks, I'm not going to be able to pick up on it just yet. It's still very helmet wearing vibes. So that's a good thing in a way, but not when you're trying to make friends. The next point is interests, obsessions, that sort of stuff. When you have autism, you have fixed interests. When it comes to boys, it's usually more obvious and usually very, very specific, which is how you can kind of tell someone has autism. It's the stereotyped versions like trains and rocks and planes. Very specific and very unique interests. But when it comes to girls, because they mask a lot and they want to fit in, these interests get very tailored towards socially acceptable fascinations. So that can be like music and animals and just things that are seen as socially acceptable. I am obsessed with rocks and crystals, but I kind of feel like that's also socially acceptable because in society it's become this really big thing where people have crystals now and collect crystals, and no one would know if I was obsessed with them or not. They'd just think, oh, she's a crystal girl, or she's like a horoscopes girl. I don't know. I've been obsessed with them since I was little and just mesmerized by them, and I collect them. I've got so many, but I'm also obsessed with music as well. So Taylor Swift specifically. Now this can really get in the way of friendships because when you have interests, everybody has interests, but when it comes to autism, it is very overwhelming. It's all you think about, it's all you want to talk about, it's literally everything. And to try and stop yourself from talking about your interest to people is really hard. And the people that I will constantly talk about Taylor Swift and rocks and whatnot is to family members because I don't care if they're annoyed and they don't care. But with new friends and people that you're not that close with, it can be very off-putting, and as much as I really want to talk about it, I have to try and hold myself back. Now, not everybody can do that on the spectrum. If you know someone with autism, you probably have noticed that whenever you have a conversation with them, it's always geared towards their interest, and they will change the conversation and always bring it back to what they want to talk about. And that is also something that I do a lot, but I have got better at talking to people without bringing up my interests, although sometimes I just don't care and sometimes I just will do it. And as soon as someone brings up an interest, they will explode on everything they know about it and they will not stop. I have had many times where I have been talking to my dad and we have sat for hours and hours talking about Taylor, and the only way it will end is if he ends it or I've finished saying what I need to say, which will be like 4 hours down the line. But yeah, this is an issue in friendships because not everyone wants to hear about that, and if you can't have a conversation with somebody without bringing that up, like that's going to get really annoying for the other person. And they feel like they can't have a conversation without you, without bringing it up. And sometimes conversations for me and for other people with autism just ain't it. They're really boring. I don't want to know what your favourite colour is, what you've been doing. I want to know juicy gossip. I want to know stuff about my interests, and I want to know juicy gossip straight away. So I think that also kind of tailors into why people don't like having conversations. Try and talk to someone with autism. It'll be going to be very one-worded. It's not, unless they're masking, it's going to be very one-worded. They're not going to be interested in the conversation at all, and they're not going to initiate a conversation unless it's revolved around what they want to talk about. The next point, is this the final point? The next point is anxiety, overwhelming. They kind of mesh into the same thing. The first thing is social anxiety is a big thing in autism. Anxiety in general is also like really comorbid in autism, and when you are overstimulated by sensory issues, especially if you have noise sensitivity, this can be really hard to like go into social settings, going to busy towns, social gatherings. It can be very overwhelming. There's noise, there's a lot of people, they're all touching you. You can't have a conversation because you can only hear everyone else's conversation, because another thing, we struggle to turn on and off different sounds. Like when you're having a conversation with one person, people can filter out the other sounds and then focus in on that, but people with autism, some people can't filter out the background noise, so it's all just blurred into one big giant noise, and that can be really overwhelming. That's the same for me. I have noise issues and I can't filter out the other conversations, so I can hear them in the background as this person, so I'm just getting really distracted. So many people, I want to punch them all. And so you avoid going out altogether. So how are you going to make friends? So that's the other thing. I can't make friends. Like, I have no opportunity to make friends. Chance of me going out into a social setting is really low, and I have to build up so much momentum to actually go out. I have to have not socialised that entire week to be able to go out. And even then, I've found recently it's getting worse. Even if I've not been out the whole week and like not socialised in the whole week, I go out, I manage to only be able to do like an hour, and then I turn to whoever I'm with and I'm like, I can't do this. And the second thing along with that is the draining part. Is, like I said, you can't see someone for a week or like socialise for a week before you do something social, because it's really draining. Having social contact is draining, and that leads to that correlates with the friendship group situation. It's draining enough seeing one person, let alone several. I used to, it could be a factor of the fact that I was a teenager going through puberty, but it's also the fact that I was spending a lot of my time trying so hard to fit in, even though I didn't enjoy it, that it resulted in catastrophic events. Let me tell you. At school, I was spending all day trying to talk to everybody and make friends and fit in and socialise, and then I would come home and literally crash. Like, I wouldn't just be drained and crashed, I would have meltdowns because I had no masking left in me. I now know what is too much and what I can do and what I can't do and what I expect of myself, and I don't put any pressure on me anymore, which is why I think it's probably getting worse now with the socialising, because I can just tell when I'm getting to the point of being uncomfortable and not enjoying it anymore, and I just think life's too short to try and force yourself to do things you don't want to do. Some people unfortunately don't know what their limits are, and they may not know that they have autism either, so they're overly trying and they're confused why they're struggling more than other people, and so that can result in friendships getting worse because they withdraw themselves. You should always do what feels most comfortable to you, and if you lose friends along the way, fine, because there are people in my life that are willing to bear with it and it doesn't affect them. It's not that they're putting up with it, they are fine with it. But yeah, those are the main points that I can think of that relate to friendship and the struggles that we have with it. And if there's people out there that feel like they relate to all of this, maybe you might have autism as well, but obviously you need a professional diagnosis, because this is not a diagnosis video. This is just giving ideas of what it's like to have autism to maybe help people out there that feel like there's something wrong with them, or they can finally understand why they feel certain ways or do certain things. And of course, this is kind of educating people that don't have it, that want to know more. Thank you for watching. If there's any specific topic you want me to discuss, then leave it in the comments. I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.